come back, we're going to have probably the most amazing interview we've done in a very long time with Ali Safavi, member of the Foreign Affairs Committee for the National Council of Resistance of Iran. Gene Berardelli, Behind Enemy Lines. We'll be back right after this. Hey folks, I just want to let you know about a great opportunity for listeners of Behind Enemy Lines Radio. If you go to our website, www.behindenemylinesradio.us, and click on the same box ad on the right side of the page, you will get a great opportunity for a discounted offer to join SaneBox. SaneBox filters out all the unimportant email from your inbox so that you can really focus on what matters. If you're anything like me, folks, you get hundreds of pieces of email a day, not many of which is important. SaneBox's smart filter will get everything you need to fly through your inbox and finally make email work for you. It gets rid of spam emails, it deprioritizes emails that aren't as important to you, and it helps you unsubscribe from mailing lists and individual senders with ease. So again, go to www.behindenemylinesradio.us and you click on the SaneBox ad and you'll be given an exclusive offer you won't find anywhere else. Behind Enemy Lines. Gene Berardelli, back Behind Enemy Lines, have a very fascinating interview right now to bring to you. Joining me on the line is a new friend that I've been speaking to recently. His name is Ali Safavi. He's a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the National Council of Resistance of Iran. Folks, this is going to be some stuff that you're not going to hear on any other show, and I'm happy to bring it to you. Ali, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you very much, Gene, and thank you for having me on your show. It's a great show. And as you said, I'm a member of the National Council of Resistance of Iran, which is acting as a parliament in exile of the Iranian opposition. It's based in Paris, but it has representative offices in all major capitals, including Washington, D.C., where I'm normally at, but right now I'm in Paris talking to you here.
Right, we're doing an international call right now, which is very fascinating. Now, explain to people how did the committee of the National Council of how did the National Council of Resistance of Iran come about? It's an organization I've never heard of.
Yeah, well, basically, after the fall of the Shah in 1979, of course, Iranians overthrew the Shah, hoping for a democratic system of government. Unfortunately, the clerics, Khomeini and his people, usurped the leadership of the revolution, instituted a total theocracy on the people, a totalitarian regime. And so the NCRI, National Council of Resistance of Iran, was formed in 1981 as an attempt to bring together all democratic opposition groups and political figures in Iran who opposed religious rule, who opposed Islamist rule, and wanted to have a secular democratic republic in Iran. And so the NCRI has been around for I guess in 2017, for some 36 years, and it has now gained tremendous international support in the United States, bipartisan support in the Senate, in the House, Republicans, Democrats, and of course among former senior national security officials in the United States, Mayor Giuliani, Newt Gingrich, John Bolton, and on the Senate side, John McCain, Roy Blunt, Bob Menendez, you name it. And of course on the House side, Paul Ryan, Dana Rohrabacher, Ed Royce. So it has been, and also of course in Europe as well. And so it has been able to basically keep the flames of resistance against this regime alive. Its network inside Iran, which basically belongs to its main component, the Mujahideen Khal, or the MEK, has been very, very active in Iran, especially this year. They were quite active in more than 100 cities in Iran, in Tehran, other cities, during the so-called presidential election, which was a sham by any definition. And, we are very, very hopeful and optimistic about the future because despite all of the repression that we have seen in Iran, 120,000 executions and arrest of thousands more, the regime has failed to extinguish the Iranian people's yearning for a free and democratic government.
It's actually astounding because these are things that really don't hit media so often. I was not aware First of all, to be part of an opposition force within Iran has got to be terrifying, first of all. And to know that over 100, that we're talking about 120,000 activists have been executed by the Ayatollahs in the time that they've been in power, I guess since 1979 on. It's absolutely staggering, Ali.
Well, absolutely. In fact, it might be interesting for you and your audience to know that one of those 120,000 was my own brother, and my older brother, who was an American-educated aerospace engineer. I studied at UCLA for my undergrad work. He was also there. And he went back to Iran and became actually a journalist and an editor. And he began to write about the repressive ways of the mullahs and talking about the need for democracy, freedom, free expression. And the mullahs didn't like what he wrote, so he was arrested in July of 1981 and executed in September of that year, and he was only 29 years old. So it really hits home when you talk about this. In fact, among the 120,000 that were executed, 30,000 of them were executed en masse in a massacre, actually, in a matter of a few months in 1988 after Khomeini issued a religious decree saying that all dissidents must be wiped out. And, of course, we have worked extensively in the U.S., in U.S. Congress. There's now a bipartisan resolution that Congressman Mike McCall, Republican of Texas, chair of the Homeland Security Committee of Congress, has tabled, and it has bipartisan support of Ed Royce and Ed Rangel and a whole host of other, also Pete Sessions, and we're hopeful that Congress will pass that. It condemns the massacre. So indeed, as you said, the Iranian people have paid a tremendous price to attain freedom. Unfortunately, again, as you correctly pointed out, the mainstream media doesn't report any of this. It seems to us that there's some love fest between them and the Ayatollahs in Iran.
You know, it also seems to me that, obviously with great risk, and I'm very sorry to hear that your brother was lost in this, and I'm very, it breaks my heart to hear things like that. But with high risk does come high reward, and the People's Mujahideen organization that we've been talking about, they actually blew the lid off of Iran's nuclear program about 15 years ago, and if it wasn't for them getting that out to us, who knows where Iran would be as far as their nuclear program.
You're absolutely correct. In fact, the MEK in 2002 revealed the existence of two major nuclear sites, one a uranium enrichment site in Natanz, and another one a heavy water facility, both in central Iran, in the city of Arak. And were it not for this revelation and 100 more revelations since then, the mullahs would have had the bomb by now. As you may know, when the MEK revealed the existence of those two secret sites, that triggered IAEA inspections of these sites, and then of course you had international community get involved, and they began gradually to impose sanctions on the regime. These were crippling sanctions, but unfortunately, as everybody knows, President Obama was so much sold on the idea of some rapprochement with the mullahs of Iran that they ultimately signed the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which, as Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said recently, does not block Iran's path to a nuclear bomb. It only delays it. And of course, they got hundreds of millions of dollars of sanctions relief, which they have used not for the improvement of the lives of Iranians, but to keep the murderous Bashar al-Assad in power in Syria and helping the Houthi militias in Yemen and helping the Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Shiite militias in Iraq. But indeed, as you said, the role of the MEK in revealing this, but not only the nuclear issue, they've had also a tremendous amount of revelations about Iran's missile program. Just last week, our office in Washington revealed information on 42 different sites where the Iranian regime produces, tests, and launches missiles, including ballistic missiles. So there's a whole host of activities, malign activities that the regime engages in, which the resistance has exposed.
It's one of the worst deals that America has ever made with what President Obama entered into with that Iranian deal last year. And again, folks, we're talking with Ali Safavi, who is a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the National Council of Resistance of Iran. And coming this week, Ali, there's going to be quite a gathering in Paris, which is where you are right now, to not only bring awareness to the situations currently as they stand in resisting the Iranian regime, but also to bring about awareness and support for your efforts. Why don't you talk about this Free Iran gathering that's happening in Paris?
Yes, exactly. In fact, on Saturday, July 1, a major gathering is scheduled here just outside of Paris, where tens of thousands of Iranian expats plus their supporters from 5 continents will converge. We have a tremendous list of speakers, very stellar group of speakers: Newt Gingrich, Tom Ridge, Judge Mukasey, Louis Freeh, General George Casey, General James Conway, General Jack Keane, and a whole host of others who are coming from America alone, that like former Italian foreign minister, former French foreign minister. We have people from the Parliament of Germany, from the Middle East, from the Syrian opposition. Basically, the main theme of this conference is twofold. One, obviously, the need to free Iran. Second, to form a united front against Islamic extremism. Because as you may know now, in a sense, the evil of our time is Islamic extremism. And we feel that the best way to defeat Islamic extremism is for all the people, all the groups, all the individuals, all the organizations who oppose extremism under the banner of religion is to come together. And obviously the main source of Islamic extremism has been the regime in Iran ever since the Ayatollahs took over in 1979. None of what we see today happening in the Middle East and in Brussels and in Paris and in London and the United States by extremists existed before the Ayatollahs came to power in Iran. Now, interestingly enough, the group that is leading all of this is headed by a woman, Mrs. Maryam Rajavi, who herself is a Muslim woman. And she believes in separation of religion and state, gender equality, universal suffrage. And so this event will highlight the fact that Iranians are willing, ready for bringing regime change to Iran, and they want to do it themselves. They don't want an Iraq-style invasion, which, as you know, didn't pan out very well. They are willing and ready. All that they're asking for is for the international community to stand with them. Unfortunately, as you said, President Obama was so much hell-bent on his legacy and, of course, reaching out to the mullahs, that when millions of Iranians rose up in the streets of Iran in 2009, he basically stood silent and did nothing, instead engaging in back-channel deals with the mullahs of Iran and with that lunatic president, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. So the message of the event on July 1 is to tell the world that, look, there is an alternative to Islamic extremism. There is an alternative to the mullahs of Iran. The false narrative that the Obama administration and Tehran apologists have been advocating, that is either we have to appease the mullahs or go to war, is a false narrative. There is a third option, which is working to bring change in Iran by relying on the Iranian people, by empowering them, and of course by reaching out to the Iranian opposition, which basically has aligned itself with the very values that the civilized world cherishes: freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, free access to internet, gender equality, free market economy, you name it. And so in that sense, I think the event this year is very, very significant, especially because of course, the political climate in the United States has shifted, and at least in the 5-6 months that this administration has been in business in Washington, indications are that at least the policy that Obama has pursued will not be pursued.
Right, and I hope we'll see that from the Trump administration in the months to come as well. This is a very complex issue, Ali, because when you talk about, first of all, before I even get to that point, to have a Muslim woman leading the charge here is absolutely amazing to see, because you never hear of any Muslim organizations or Muslim people. One of the narratives that's put out there is that, we're waiting for someone to condemn actions of, supporters of terror, state sponsors of terror, sponsors of clandestine organizations. And here we have a Muslim woman leading an organization that's been around for decades, standing up. And again, shame on the